You guys, welcome to another episode of Soft Rebellion. My name is Zintate and thank you so much for joining me. As you can hear from my voice, I am a bit jolly today. And the big news is that I just ran a 32-kilometer race today. And this is the longest distance I've ever ran. Like up until this morning, the furthest I've ever ran was 21 kilometers, which also means that I'm 10 kilometers away from my first full marathon. Can you believe it? So I'm very excited, and I do have plans to do that, to run the full marathon next year with Sanlam. But there's very important lessons I really got to learn during this race today. I mean, it's lessons that I've always been aware of, but I think it was mostly highlighted today, and somehow it just hit home. So during the race, I must have been at around 15 kilometers, and we were cruising very nicely going downhill. And one of the guys behind me, a white man, maybe in his 40s or something, said, "Oh, I wish my family, I wish I could see my family. Like, I wish they're waiting for me somewhere." And his running mate asked if, "Are they here? Are they here? Are they waiting for you at the finish?" And I said, "No, they're not here. I wish they were. I wish they would surprise me." And this just tugged at my heart, you guys. It made me so sad. And let me tell you, the race today was brutal. It was hard. I remember at 9 kilometers struggling because there was just this constant hill. It was a slow burn, that's what they call. Because it's not a very steep hill, but it goes up for a very long time. And I was just hitting a wall, and I couldn't move past it. I wanted to walk. And the guy I was running with, Tulu, just kept saying, "Z, you can't afford to walk right now because there's still gonna be periods where you walk. There's just so many hills going after the 15-kilometer mark." I mean, I'd never done this race, so I didn't know before. But I was just so sad when I heard this man say this. But somehow I kept it going because I knew that at the finish line I'd have my friends there. My friend and her twin daughters, Zuki, were waiting for me at the finish line. Little did I know when I arrived that my other friend Ad and Zawi were also waiting for me there. Guys, it was an entire celebration when I arrived. They were making noise. Mind you, I'm such an average runner. Below average runner, I'd even say, I was probably one of the last people to arrive. Took me 4 hours, 30 minutes to get there. And they were cheering me, celebrating, screaming my name, and saying all sorts of things. They even got this pop thing that has sparkles to celebrate. I don't know what it's called. It was like a proper party, and it made me so happy, right? And I remember after getting my medal, and they were taking photos of me, and I'd hugged each and every one of them because I was just so overcome by joy and, beautiful emotions. One of the guys came and he wanted to join us in the celebrations, and he said, "Oh, I wish I had people to celebrate me like this, so I would like to be a part of this." And it got me so sad. Both of these men were men, right? And a lot of times you think, oh, men just don't care about these touchy-feely things, people showing up and whatnot. And oftentimes I don't think they verbalize their wants for people to show up for them in that way. And I suppose I've been so lucky that I didn't need to verbalize that to my friends. But what I do really well is show up for them. Zuki, for instance, the mom to the twin girls, had a Pilates session yesterday. And I love going to Pilates. It's Pilates in nature. On a Saturday morning, there's birds chirping, there's trees all over. It's just green and luscious. And if you live in Joburg, you know how much of a concrete jungle it is. So being able to be in that space filled with women, loving on your body, it's just so grounding and wholesome and a beautiful way to start the day. So as much as I wasn't going to do Pilates yesterday, excuse me, I still wanted to be there. So then I helped her out with setting up and stuff, and that was fun, right? So I try to show up for my friends in ways that mean the most to them. And in return, they show up for me in these beautiful romantic ways that I don't even have to verbalize. I think Ed does that so effortlessly for me. Like, we had to show up at my other friend's family's funeral last week. And she was like, no, Chumi, it's okay. I'll come fetch you. Because my car has been, getting issues. And I'm like, oh, it's also a tricky time of the month. And she offered to come pick me up. But before then, I was like, oh, I was really hoping to get a run, something quick, even if it's a 10-kilometer run. She's like, I'll come through. We'll do that together. And we got to do all of that. And for me, it was just so beautiful and wholesome. And, oh, guys, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what the lesson is here, because I think actually the lesson is that to have people in your life who show up in these soft, beautiful ways that mean the most, you also need to be the person who shows up for them, I remember the first time, actually it was the second time, sometime this year, August, I think, I did the Waterfall half marathon. And let me tell you, Waterfall is brutal. It's got a whole lot of hills, and it's just super hot because there are no trees. It's not shaded. I did that. And for me, this was my revenge race, because last year I'd had such a terrible time. I was cramping after 13 kilometers. And I finished at such a, poor time. And I was in so much pain. Literally, the water stations were picking up by the time I passed most of them. So then this year was my revenge race. And Zawi was there. She was like running after me, like to capture me on video. And I promise you, I had this burst of energy and I was just so excited. It was such a different experience from the year before, because I'd done the year before alone. But now every major race I've done, my friends have been there, I think about Hyrax as well, and how much my friend Jojo showed up with balloons. Also Nombu, I want to say Onke now because that's her Insta handle. Nombu came and she had bubbles and like she paid for my massages. And guys, I was cramping, like I was going through it. But they were all there. And I mean, as someone who isn't accustomed to receiving, I've really been deliberate about letting my friends spoil me, even though it can be uncomfortable sometimes because I'm like, all this attention. But I think I'm getting used to getting all this attention and just taking it in because it's their sign of loving me, and I'm allowing them to love on me. But I also think it's easier to accept it now because I know that I also do the same. Like I show up for them in ways that are meaningful for them, and it's not because the relationship is transactional, and it's not because I do that out of obligation. I really enjoy showing up for my friends in that manner, but in return, I get this community of people who just celebrate me, and like show up for me without having to ask. I mentioned in the previous episode that I was on Bumble, deleted that niche because now more than ever, I'm convinced that I'm never going to meet the love of my life on that app. Everyone is just literally a slay queen and a princess. Like, men on Bumble want you to beg them. Like, I don't know. They just want you to make the first move and like carry the conversation. And I'm just like, not under my regime, sir. Like, I'm not going to be doing that. So I deleted that app and I just let the princesses be, But anyway, I'm digressing so much. But while I was on there, I remember having a conversation with this guy. I think the fact that he had family across the world, probably thought it would be enticing. I don't know. He was talking about how his mom is in Switzerland and his sister is in Canada. And he's recently moved back from Switzerland to Ghana or something. And he thought that would charm me somehow. And I'm like, dude, I love my roots. I love where I come from. And, it's a grounding of sort. Yes, being cosmopolitan is very important, and it's something that I aspire to as well. But no. Anyway, I'm also digressing again. But I remember we were talking about the type of families we wanted, and I thought, I want a big family. Like, I remember growing up with my cousin brothers and sisters, and especially over the December holidays, and there would be lots of kids and us sleeping on the floor. Would grab sponges to like make our beds on the floor, basically, because we didn't have enough beds to sleep on. So then there'd be cousins sleeping crumpled next to each other, basically. And I remember that, and I'm like, I want a big family. I want a family where we do sleepovers at each other's houses, and there's kids laughing until the wee hours of the morning. We're making food in these big pots, because that's how I grew up, and those are my fondest memories of family, and I want to recreate that in my space. But I realized it's possible to have that with your friends. This generation has really emphasized having romantic partners so much that we've forgone all sorts of relationships, enriching relationships that we could have with other people in our lives. My nephews come here once in a while, and I really enjoy having them. And now that I'm gonna get a dog, it's just gonna be a wholesome experience. My friends' kids love being here, and I love that for me, because then I get to have sleepovers with them. She was sleeping on the couch, and she's like, "Oh, I don't sleep on people's beds." It was so funny to me. I'm like, fine, I'll sleep with the twins. And I was sleeping with the twins, and they were kicking my ass out. It was one of the twins, actually, Lily. But I was enjoying that so much, because I'm like, this is the life I want. This is everything I dream of. And I don't know, I'm just blessed enough to get to experience that with them, And my friend is being harsh on them. But, you must behave, you must do this, don't do that, don't spill food and whatnot. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, this is the life of my dreams. Like, do you understand that I am overjoyed right now? I am over the moon, because this is everything I dream of. And they're so excited about the fact that I'm getting a dog. I even showed them videos. I don't know what I'm going to call the dog. My friend Jojo said I should call it Bruna, which is similar to Bruno, the dog that passed away last year, my dog. But I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, my friends' kids are really excited about my dog. And I'm excited to have them experience my dog as well, and be in my space. And we have pool days and stuff. And it just dawned on me today, to say, I don't have to wait for a romantic partner before I can live this dream life that I aspire to. I get to recreate those moments with my friends too. They're not placeholders, but they're really valuable people in my life, and their friendship means the most to me. Really, they've become like family, and I don't take that for granted. So, Tando said on Instagram the other day, singleness is not a period of waiting. It's not a season of waiting to be married, waiting to find a partner. You must live your life. You must use that time for your life to proceed, to continue, to have meaning, to find joy. Because you're not just waiting to be married, to be someone's to be claimed. It's your life. Don't let it pass you by. Don't watch and be a bystander in your life. Be a participant in it, an active participant. And I suppose today was such a beautiful display of that. And guys, my heart is so full. And these are even with people who aren't close friends of mine. I remember Pelisa, I met her recently at the Waterfall Club, and I was like, girl, I'm running 31. It's the longest distance I've ever, done, and I'm panicking. I want moral support. She's like, oh, honey, I'm recovering from flu, but I would love to be there. I'll wait for you at one of the, water points or whatever. At 25 kilometers, I saw her, and she was hooting at me. Guys, that carried me, Tando as well. We went to school together. She was like, girl, I'm gonna be there. And when I saw her, I was so excited at 21. I was like, oh my gosh. I literally charged to this girl, wet and all, everywhere, because I just poured water all over me. And she embraced me, you know? And that's just a few examples of the people in your life who can literally bring you joy or help you create the kind of experiences you want outside of a romantic partner, because we clearly seem to be failing in that department, you know. And I think going back now to those two guys who longed for their families to be there, I think sometimes it's not always possible, especially because guys are not in tune with their emotional side. Yes, society is partly to blame for this because we discourage men from feeling their emotions. But I also think as an adult, they get to choose whether or not they want to show up in those ways. And I've come to realize in my own life that men aren't prepared to show up in those ways. Like, I remember the one guy who really wanted to pursue something with me, and we got along. He thought it would make him look like a simp if he came to my races. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because my friends show up with balloons and flowers and champagnes. And I'm like the most basic runner ever. Like, my time is so basic, guys. I'm literally one of the last people to close the race. And yet my friends will celebrate me like I'm a winner. The guy said, yo, you guys are celebrating her like, you know, she's a winner and whatnot. But that just shows the kind of men that are available, you know, to be partners with. And it's not something I'm prepared to settle for. But in the meantime, before I find that person, or even if I don't, I can still get that fulfillment in other ways. And this is by no means saying that, you know, my friends will cover the desire for a romantic relationship. But I just want to emphasize the point that we can still have close relations with people in our lives, family even, or familial bonds with those people in other ways that are meaningful to us, even if we don't have those romantic partners, you know. So yeah, I hope this is going to be your motivation to be a good friend, because being a good friend to your people means that you get really good friends in return, you know. And you know when people aren't for you, like, you know when someone is just here to extract value. I made an episode about the various kinds of friends, one who is here to just derive value, and those ones are normally, you know, the celebrities, the ones who want the friendship to be about them but don't really add any value. And in those instances, I'd say leave that friendship. I think we're old enough to make those hard decisions now and not keep people around just because it's hard to part ways, you know. But if you're a good friend and people appreciate that and they reciprocate, you get to have this fulfilling, enriching lives. And yeah, so Chummies, I think my parting words are that be a good friend. Show up for your people in ways that matter to them. Be curious, ask questions, and surprise them. You know, Zoe and Ed surprised me today, and it was such a pleasant experience. So yeah, I hope you get to do that for your friends, and I promise you it's gonna bring you as much joy as it's gonna to them. So yeah, anyway, I just ran at 32 kilometers. Can you believe it? Like, I'm capable of doing that. How impressive is that? I said on WhatsApp stories, like my past, present, and future selves are proud collectively. Because what do you mean? That was hard, guys. Also because their heels were so unforgiving. They were brutal. But I think what that also told me is that I can definitely do a full marathon. And yeah, I'm that girl. I hope you can do hard things, chummies. And make sure to celebrate those moments as well when you do. Anyway, I'm going to end this podcast here today. So thank you so much for joining me. And I hope to see you at the next time.